From news and views, issues and opportunities, we'll have in-depth conversations with decision makers to find out what they know and what they think. I'm Rico Hizon, inviting you to join the exchange because your business is our business. It's revenge travel for more fun in the Philippines as the country finally joins other nations in welcoming fully vaccinated foreign tourists from visa-free countries wanting to explore our world-class beaches and islands, and without the need to isolate oneself in designated facilities and at home upon arrival. The government is looking forward to revive tourism, a major growth driver, while the industry is eager to bounce back. And how are the regions preparing to welcome visitors? While some areas are recovering from calamities, other destinations are opening their borders as well. The vision of fun and safe tourism while living with COVID-19 in our sweet vision. Tourism contributed more than 12% to the economy in 2019, but the pandemic hit the sector hard. Its share slid to just over 5%. It's now time for the industry to bounce back as the government will allow the entry of fully vaccinated foreign travelers beginning February the 10th. Let's now have an exchange with Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat on how reopening the country's borders will lead to a recovery and growth. Berna, thank you so much for joining us. How big a boost to tourism and jobs is the removal of these quarantine requirements for returning Filipinos and foreign tourists from February 10?
Definitely, it's very welcome. All our tourism stakeholders are excited. A lot of, like, for example, our balikbayans have been wanting to come to the country. But then some, even with the 5-day quarantine, are hesitant because parang they're saying, nako, if dadating kami pero we'll spend 5 days in quarantine facility or hotel, sayang yung oras because diba their leaves are only a certain number.
Correct.
So at least now with February 10, we will be accepting foreign tourists from visa-free countries and no more quarantine. So that's already really it's very welcome to all our tourism stakeholders.
That's really good news, no, for the tourism industry. And you've been talking to all the stakeholders, Berna.
Yes.
Are you seeing airline and hotel bookings rise since February the 1st?
For February 1, of course, our OFWs, returning Filipinos, were quite happy. But then some of our hotels now will have to, kasi a lot of our hotels, and we would like to thank them, because they shifted to quarantine facilities. So a lot have been thinking of how to shift back to regular for leisure travel. At least, yun na nga, no quarantine, more, it's welcome to returning Filipinos, balikbayan, foreign tourists. And then when I've been talking to our tour operators, to our hotels, they are saying marami na raw nag-email, inquiring, quite excited. Kasi it's the February 10 opening, a lot of people think na magdadagsaan all the tourists. No, it's just more of a signal that we are open, we are ready, health and safety protocols are in place. But if we think that millions of tourists will come Feb 10, no, it's going to be gradual because it also depends on when the foreigners can take a leave. Like, for example, for the European countries, they'll probably come during the winter months. For balikbayans, they'll probably wait for the summer break of their children. So it still depends, but it's still good. But we expect also some balikbayans to come also because they've been wanting to be reunited with their families. And of course, for the business people, they've been wanting to come here for the past 2 years. So
Berna,
we expect them to be the one immediately to come.
So Berna, the fun is back in the Philippines. And I've been reading and watching US media since the announcement of the easing of restrictions with headlines, tourists can soon visit the Philippines again for the first time in nearly 2 years. But the US government has advised its citizens against traveling to the Philippines due to very high level of COVID-19 infections. What kind of impact will this have on the tourism sector in the near to medium term?
I immediately asked about that, and I asked our doctors. Apparently, the CDC is a 28-day composite. So they probably took into account last month, January, when our cases were high. But, as you all know, we're already alert level 2. Our cases are continually decreasing. So at least we expect that we will have a lower risk level because this didn't take into account that our cases are now low and further going down.
We hope that the US CDC will change their travel advisory sooner rather than later. And Berna, one of the key destinations for foreign tourists is Siargao and Bohol. These islands though, were devastated by Typhoon Odette. What is their status for reopening their doors for foreign travel and domestic travel?
Siargao is now currently closed even for domestic tourists. Bohol is open, but a lot of their tourist attractions have been devastated. We are working with the different departments. First, for their immediate needs, we are working with the Department of Labor and Employment to give financial assistance to those affected tourism workers. And we hope that they'll be able to reopen. But unfortunately, they got hit right before December, the peak season, even for domestic tourism. So right now, while, again, Siargao, Bohol, at least Bohol is reopened, the foreign tourists are looking at Boracay. Depends also, Rico, if it's for diving, they're looking at Batangas, Bohol, Cebu, Palawan for diving. It really depends on the interest, but of course, Sun and Beach would still be Boracay. For, let's say, for example, English as second language, that would be Baguio and Cebu. It really depends on what they're here for, because we have 10 tourism products anyway. So it depends on what their interests are.
So from which countries do you expect a surge of arrivals over the next weeks and months?
Okay, yung immediate would be probably from the US because we have our balikbayans. Our balikbayans have been wanting to come here since December because they have not been able to visit. Before the Omicron variant, the quarantine days were only 3 days, but then because of the Omicron, it was increased to 5. But then when we already said that wala nang quarantine, there have been a lot of inquiries. I've been asking our stakeholders, inquiries from balikbayans, or they simply are booking already and wanting to come home.
Right.
But for example, that's
Asian
the
countries.
balikbayans are our number 3 market. Our number 1 market is Korea. Korea, number 4 is Japan. Those are from visa-free countries. They are already inquiring, but since their cases are now high abroad, they're checking the situation. But definitely, they've been asking about when they can visit the Philippines.
And if there is a large influx of tourists into some of the key tourism spots, are these destinations ready in ensuring the safety of foreign tourists?
Rico, we've been ready since 2020. In fact, September 2020, the WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council, already gave the Philippines the safe travel stamp. It means that our health and safety protocols are at par with the world. And our health and safety protocols did not only take into consideration world guidelines, but also we had inputs from the Department of Health and the WHO. So we've been ready. So even the WTT says we've been ready since September 2020.
Thank you so much for this tourism exchange, Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat. And we want you to share your thoughts about our topic tonight. Do you have plans to travel anywhere in the country this year? Where do you plan to go? Send your answers to our official social media pages, and I will read your responses later on the program. And now here's a rundown of some of the week's top business stories. A bill easing foreign equity restrictions in a number of industries is awaiting President Duterte's signature. Congress had approved amendments to the Public Service Act in a bid to attract investments. The country's outstanding loans eased to 11.72 trillion pesos as of end December, and this comes after authorities paid out local securities. And the Philippine Statistics Authority reports inflation slowed to 3% in January, with 2018 as the new base year. And when we come back on The Exchange, where your business is our business, we're likely to see more activity in air travel under relaxed entry rules. Cebu Pacific joins us for an exchange about how the policy will impact the airline industry. And more travelers mean more business for hotels and conference venues. We get insights from SM Hotels and Conventions right here on CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Motorists have been grappling with rising fuel prices since the beginning of the year. They have so far shelled out almost 8 pesos per liter for gasoline and diesel. Higher fuel prices are passed on through production and transportation costs, especially for food items. Our kababayans are feeling the pinch with the higher cost of vegetables and meat and basic items like canned foods, infant formula, and adult milk. And according to the Energy Department, fuel prices keep rising because of uncertainties in the global market, and demand will remain high as economies reopen and recover from this ongoing health crisis. The much-awaited reopening of our borders is good news for the airline sector, which suffered severe losses from mobility restrictions, forcing them to cut expenses and lay off workers. Let's now have an exchange with Cebu Pacific spokesperson Carmina Romero on their preparations ahead of the expected influx of foreign travelers. Carmina, great to have you with us on the program. How is Cebu Pacific adjusting its operations from pilots, flight attendants, ground staff, engineers? Are you bringing them back from furloughs and leaves with the further reopening of our air borders?
So, Rico, this is a welcome development, and we appreciate the efforts of the various local governments units to further ease travel restrictions. This will jumpstart the return of tourism, and this should pave the way for the travel recovery of the local tourism industry and, of course, the airlines. And with this recovery in travel industry, and we are ready to support this with increases in flight frequencies in the coming months. The Super Typhoon Odette and the Omicron surge delayed the recovery, but in December, there were already positive indicators. For example, Cebu Pacific posted significant growth in the total number of passengers flown during the Christmas season, which means that majority of the traveling public have become more confident to fly again. On December 24 and 25, Cebu Pacific flew close to 41,000 passengers across its domestic network. And this is up by 556% versus the same period last year.
Yeah.
So overall flight network on both days posted more than 500% growth year on year.
So Carmina, with the easing of restrictions for incoming travelers, has Cebu Pacific already seen a rise in airline bookings over the past week?
Yes, we've seen higher bookings with the relaxation of the travel restrictions. That's why we are set to increase our flight frequencies to select destinations in the coming weeks. Cebu will increase its in March its flights to Bacolod, Rojas, Zamboanga, Puerto Princesa, and we will soon resume our flights to Coron. And starting in April, flights to Boracay will be 16 times daily, and that's more than the pre-pandemic capacity.
Yeah.
And the sale is already ongoing. And then additional 3 times weekly to Masbate starting next week.
So we've really seen a full increase, no, of flights, particularly in the domestic network. What about for the foreign air travel? Are you also increasing flights from other countries to Manila and back?
Yes, we will. There are select international destinations that are already open, like Singapore. Hong Kong is just a bit tricky because the flight suspension has been extended until February 18. But we fly to South Korea, Singapore, Dubai, Taipei, and we will resume our Fukuoka. And so there, it's all international borders are tricky because it's beyond your control. But these destinations will soon restart this year, and we are hopeful that even Kuala Lumpur will resume flights this year.
But of course, the question of many passengers is that with rising global prices, does this affect your airfares for domestic travel and international travel?
You know, it is our mission, Cebu Pacific mission, to keep airfares affordable and accessible to Filipinos. That's why we have been consistently launching piso fares, flights, seat sales to select destinations, ongoing sales even to international destinations, because that's the core mission of Cebu Pacific, which is to keep airfares affordable and accessible to Filipinos.
But of course, another big question from our passengers, no, Carmina, is that the Omicron or the pandemic is still with us. People can still get infected. What about rebooking fees? Is it still? Can you still rebook your flight for free if you get infected, or is there a rebooking fee whether or not you're sick or not?
That one, that's why we always advise our passengers, you know, for their peace of mind, there are options if they cannot proceed with their flight, such as rebooking, travel fund, and if the flight gets canceled, they may request for a refund. You know, we've prepared these options since the start of the pandemic, so there will be, you know, easy decisions for the passengers to do in case they cannot fly or in case the flights get canceled.
And as an airline, what challenges do you still face in the coming weeks and months as we continue to open our air borders and economy?
Well, fortunately, Cebu Pacific has remained very agile in tackling operational challenges. You know, in December, we had the Super Typhoon Odette, which struck a large part of the Visayas and Mindanao region, and that's where some of our key hubs are, like Cebu, Bohol, and of course, it hit many tourist spots where our passengers go to. And then there was the Omicron surge, and we had to manage our manpower level. So it's been one operational challenge after another. But like I said, we are very, very agile, and, you know, barring the emergence of another variants that's as destabilizing as Omicron has been, I think we are in for a good summer this year compared to the last 2 years.
Thank you so much for this airline exchange, Cebu Pacific spokesperson Carmina Romero. On to our social media accounts, and we asked you earlier, do you have plans to travel anywhere in the country this year? Where do you plan to go? And here are some of your very interesting responses. Leah Barcinal says she wants to explore the jungles of Subic in Zambales, experience rafting in Cagayan de Oro, dive in the waters of Batangas, and roam around Bicol. Wow, that will be one fun trip for you. Well, Dake, Rocky, Dexter, Arman, Joyce, and Samuel want to go to their tourist favorites: Iloilo, Boracay, Bacolod, Sibuyan Islands, Caramoan, and Cagayan de Oro. That's good. Visiting our domestic destinations. 7,100 islands to visit. Jean Morales says she has also many travel plans, but budget is a big concern. For Jose Ilaw, it is better to stay at home until the pandemic is over. Better to be safe than sorry. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Continue joining the discussion on our official social media pages. And straight ahead on The Exchange, where your business is our business. A public official makes clarifications on the pandemic exit plan and how the alert level system may look like in the coming months. Plus, how is the hotel industry preparing for the arrival of tourists with less rules on travel? We get answers from SM Hotels and Conventions. This is CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. As the government looks to craft a pandemic exit plan, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion suggests treating COVID-19 alert levels like storm signals. Concepcion also clarified the statement calling on the government to scrap the alert level system in areas with high vaccine coverage.
I didn't mean by totally scrapping the alert levels. What I'm trying to say is that like in typhoons, in bad weather situation, we don't maintain signal number 1 every day. We only take it up when there is something wrong coming up, whether it's a depression or whatever, then we raise it to 1, 2, or 3. But we never keep typhoon signals all the time.
Concepcion stressed consultations will be held with the private sector to discuss policies and possible COVID-19 scenarios in the coming months. Amid weak demand due to travel restrictions, some hotels managed to stay afloat by serving as quarantine facilities. Now that the new travel policy is in place, is hotel industry already seeing more reservations and bookings for travel and leisure? Let's now have an exchange with Walid Wafiq of SM Hotels and Conventions. Thank you so much for joining us, Walid. With no quarantine needed upon arrival, how are hotels like yourselves preparing, given that they were multi-purpose quarantine hotels before?
Well, for similar to our industry players, we know that this segment of quarantine hotel is being lifted. So now the hotels are truly looking forward to the vacationers and to also to the tourism industry to come back and to be allowed back in the Philippines. Now, on February 10, they're allowing countries that does not require visas to come in. However, we're still relying on domestic travelers at the moment.
But with the easing of restrictions, Walid, are you seeing advanced bookings already?
Yes, there is advanced bookings, and you'll be surprised, Rico, the day that the announcement came out. We have our Taal Vista Hotel and our Pico de Loro Country Club and Pico Sands Hotel. The day that they announced the new guidelines, we picked up rooms right away, domestic travelers right away. So it gives us an indicator that the travelers are really waiting for the change, waiting for that safe zone to travel and to move around.
And we were speaking earlier to Tourism Secretary Berna Romulo, and she said that there is indeed a surge in bookings, particularly among balikbayans from the United States who want to come back because they don't have to stay at a quarantine hotel anymore for 5 days. What about for international travelers from Europe and from other Asian countries? Are we also seeing a surge in bookings from their countries?
Not yet. Not yet, but it is expected and it will happen because the Philippines plays a big role within the ASEAN countries. So definitely the foot traffic from Southeast Asia will start coming back. Let's take, for example, Korean travelers into Cebu. That has to come back. The Japanese business into Cebu has to come back. So NCR and the Visayas areas and all that will witness all this once we allow tourism visas and once we allow other countries to obtain tourism visas to come in.
All right, a lot of people want to go on staycations. A lot of balikbayans want to stay at your hotels in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. You currently have 8 hotels. But everyone is also thinking, what about the hotel rates? With the global oil prices going up, everything follows, from food to services. Does this affect your hotel rates with the opening up of the economy?
Actually, with SM Hotels and Conventions, we had several discussions about this, and we are not actually looking at the losses that we faced, but what we are looking at is how to come back. Our number one priority is how to provide a safe hotel, meaning when I say safe, meaning that people can stay with us and all the health protocols are in order and are in place and all that. Now, we're not in a way looking at charging high because of other commodities are on the high level. No, we want to gradually step up, step by step, until we get back to the level of business that we were in 2019.
And Walid, it's not only hotels that is the core of your business, but also meetings, incentives, conventions, and events.
Yeah.
No? You have 7 convention centers across the country. Are we seeing also now an increase in bookings? More people want to gather despite the pandemic still ongoing?
Now, well, talking about the convention centers now, this is a whole, it's an entirely different business scenario. Of course, we're aware to host large conventions and to host large events, it takes a good 6, 7, 8 months to start planning and staging a big event. So for the SMXs, we are expecting that it will take a little bit longer for the event side to come back. However, when we look at the future months in 2022, our regular annual events are already now confirming their allocations and their space, and these large events are really looking forward to coming back and going back to normal. But there is a new norm for the convention business at the moment, which is the hybrid side of things, where we will have the ongoing face-to-face events taking place, and there will be a hybrid side of that. And I'm happy to announce that SMX has already partnered with a third party to provide such service, so that if there is a conference that you cannot really physically attend, you can go hybrid and virtual to attend it. And this service also is going to be extended to our hotel events, meaning if there is a big a convention going on in one of our Park Inn hotels, or the Conrad or the Radisson Hotel in Cebu, we can also do a hybrid scenario with the event. So this is how we are trying to adapt with the conference facilities.
All right, with the easing of restrictions, everyone is hoping a recovery sooner rather than later for the hotels and conventions business. Thank you so much for this exchange, Walid Wafiq of SM Hotels and Conventions Corporation. And this is the exchange who makes sense of the facts and the figures and the ups and downs of the business cycle, because your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Thanks for watching CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust.